All right, let's talk about Amazon S3. If you've ever used AWS, you know that feeling, right? That little jolt of panic when the monthly bill shows up and it's way higher than you expected. You're just storing some files, but somehow the costs just seem to spiral out of control. Well, today we're going to fix that. It's the question that haunts every developer, every manager, every finance team. You scan through the line items, you see S3, and you just think, come on, it's just storage. How can it possibly cost this much? You're not crazy for thinking that, and believe me, the answer is actually way simpler than you might think. And there it is. That's the secret. See, the biggest lever you can pull to control your S3 costs isn't about how much data you store, it's all about how you store it. Choosing the right storage class, that's the key that unlocks some truly massive savings. And I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. So let's get right into the problem. That high bill, it probably isn't your fault. It's the result of one of the most common and most easily fixable mistakes in the cloud, just using the default settings for every single piece of data, no matter what it is. I want you to think of S3 not as just one big hard drive in the sky, but more like a family of highly specialized tools. You wouldn't use a sledgehammer to hang a tiny picture frame, would you? Of course not. Same idea here. So let's meet the family, because each member is designed for a very specific job. Okay, I know, there's a lot on this slide, but just ignore the details for a second and look at the price column. Just look at the insane range here. Up at the top, you've got S3 Standard costing you a little over 2 cents per gigabyte per month. Now, look all the way down at the bottom. Glacier Deep Archive. That's $0.000099. It's less than 1/10 of a penny. That's a price difference of more than 23 times. Let that sink in. We're going to break down what that actually means for your wallet. This is where the magic happens. The absolute key is matching your data's personality to the right tier. We're going to go on a little tour here, starting with the data you use all the time, your hot data, and go all the way down to the data you might not touch for 10 years, the deep frozen archives. First up, S3 Standard. This is the default. It's the workhorse of the S3 family. It's built for data that's constantly being accessed. The images on your website, the photos for your mobile app, the data sets you're actively running analytics on. And this brings us to its most important feature, the one you really need to understand. There are no retrieval fees. You pay to store the data, sure, but you can read a file 1,000,000 times a day and it won't cost you a penny extra for that access. This makes it absolutely perfect for any kind of high-traffic content. All right, let's cool things down a bit with standard IA. The IA stands for infrequent access. This is for your cool data, stuff you definitely need to keep, but you don't really look at every day. Think of it like the storage closet in your house for your important but not daily files. The use cases here are pretty obvious. Things like long-term file storage, system backups, or disaster recovery data. And here's the rule of thumb, it's super simple. If you plan on accessing that data less than once a month, standard IA is almost guaranteed to be cheaper for you than standard. But what if you have no idea? What if you can't predict how often you'll need your data? Well, for that, there's S3 Intelligent Tiering. This thing is like the smart thermostat for your data. It just sits there and watches your files, and if an object hasn't been touched in 30 days, poof, it automatically moves it to a cheaper tier for you. No effort required. So what's the catch? Well, the trade-off's pretty simple. The huge pro is that it's completely automated, and this is a big one, there are no nasty retrieval fees like you'll see in other tiers. The con? There's a tiny monitoring fee per object. So if you have like billions of teeny tiny files, maybe it's not the best fit. But for most people, it's an amazing set it and forget it option. And now, for the main event in pure cost savings, Glacier Deep Archive. This is the deep freeze. This is for data you are required to keep for legal or compliance reasons, but you honestly hope you never, ever have to look at it again. We're talking old legal documents, 7-year-old financial records, raw video footage from a project you finished years ago. I just want you to let that number sink in. $1 per terabyte per month. To give you some perspective, storing a terabyte of your family photos on a service like iCloud could cost you $10 a month. On Deep Archive, it's a single dollar. It is just mind-bogglingly cheap. But, of course, there's a catch. There's always a catch, right? That unbelievably low storage price isn't the whole story. If you really want to become a master of your S3 bill, you have to understand the costs that aren't on the sticker price. There are basically 3 of these hidden costs. You pay a tiny fraction of a cent for every file you upload or download. The cheaper tiers also charge you for a minimum object size, even for tiny files. But the big one, the one that can really, really bite you if you're not careful, is the retrieval fee. This slide shows you the Glacier retrieval trap in all its glory. Look at that. Storing a terabyte of data for a whole month costs you about $1. But deciding you need to get that data back, that can easily cost you $50 or even more. This is exactly why you never, ever, ever put active data in an archive tier. The storage is cheap, but getting it out is painfully expensive. And hey, here's a fantastic pro tip to help you avoid another one of those hidden costs. Both the infrequent access and Glacier tiers bill you for a minimum of 128 kilobytes per file. So if you upload a million tiny 1 kilobyte log files, you're actually paying 128 times more than you need to. The solution is easy. Just zip them up. Bundle them into a single file before you upload. Okay, so we've met the family. We understand the hidden fees. How do we actually put all this into practice without spending our entire life manually moving files around? The answer, my friends, is automation, using a feature called lifecycle policies. This is the real secret weapon for saving money on S3. A lifecycle policy is just a super simple set of rules you give to S3. This example here is incredibly common. A new file gets uploaded and it starts its life in S3 standard. If nobody touches it for 30 days, S3 automatically moves it to the cheaper standard IA. If it's still untouched after 90 days, it gets moved again to an even cheaper Glacier archive. And finally, after 7 years, maybe for a compliance reason like GDPR, it can automatically delete the object for you. You literally set it up once and it saves you money forever. And that really brings us to the final and most important question of all, a question for you. After seeing all this, I want you to take a second and think about your own S3 buckets. Think about your server logs from last year, your project files from 6 months ago, all those old backups. What data are you paying the premium S3 standard price for right now? That could be sitting in a much, much cheaper tier, saving you money every single month.